Leonardo DiCaprio was born into a world that never imagined the weight he would one day carry. The glow of fame on one side, and the quiet ache of longing on the other. From the streets of Los Angeles to the global spotlight, he became a symbol of talent, beauty, and untouchable stardom. But behind the flash of cameras and the endless parade of public relationships, there has always been a second life. One the world never fully understood. A life defined not by the women he dated, but by the one person who has held his heart in a way no headline ever could. Kate Winslet. Their bond, forged under the harsh lights of a cold film set in 1996, became the one constant he never outran. While the world watched him move from one glamorous chapter to the next, his truest emotional home lived in the quiet, enduring connection he shared with her. And for 30 years, that truth remained tucked beneath the noise of fame, not dramatic, not hidden in shame, but simply too sincere, too intimate, to fit into the world's version of his story. A double life built from loyalty, trust, and the kind of steadiness Hollywood rarely sees. Leonardo DiCaprio entered the world on November 11, 1974, in Los Angeles, California. An infant born into a home already bending under the weight of change. His father, George DiCaprio, an underground comics artist and creative force in the counterculture scene, carried the spirit of a restless storyteller. His mother, Irmelin, a hard-working legal secretary, lived with both feet firmly planted in reality. And when their marriage fractured just a year after Leonardo's birth, the divide in their lives became the first divide in his. From that moment forward, Leonardo grew up primarily with his mother, navigating a childhood stitched with instability. They moved through neighborhoods marked by poverty, places where violence, drugs, and uncertainty often hovered just outside their door. Irmelin did everything she could, walking him to school, working long hours chasing safer streets, but nothing could fully soften the edges of a childhood built on constant shifts. That early instability didn't just shape him, it carved something deep into him, a lifelong longing for emotional safety, the kind that doesn't disappear when life changes around you. In the middle of all this, Leonardo found one steady beacon: performance. He was drawn to acting with a hunger that surprised even the adults around him. Commercial auditions became tiny escapes, brief windows where life felt like it made sense. He wasn't just pretending, he was searching for a world that felt solid. His mother recognized this spark, protecting it fiercely while juggling rent, bills, and the weight of single parenthood. By his early teens, the dream began to turn into reality. Leonardo landed small television roles, and then a spot on Growing Pains, where his raw talent began catching attention. But his breakthrough arrived in 1993, when he starred alongside Robert De Niro in This Boy's Life, a role that demanded emotional honesty far beyond his years. That same year, he delivered a performance that stunned critics and earned him his first Academy Award nomination, Arnie Grape in What's Eating Gilbert Grape. Suddenly the world saw what Irmelin had always believed: this boy wasn't here to decorate Hollywood, he was here to shift it. Yet even as success bloomed, something more complex unfolded inside him. Fame magnified the divide he had carried since childhood, the two sides of his inner world. There was public Leonardo, the charismatic, camera-ready star who rose faster than Hollywood could keep track of. And then there was private Leonardo, the boy who still guarded himself, who still craved the emotional safety he rarely found growing up. He learned early that opening his heart came with risk, that attachments could break before they fully formed. That quiet fear, shaped in childhood, followed him into adulthood, whispering reminders that closeness was fragile. And as his name spread across magazines and movie posters, that internal divide widened. The more the world claimed pieces of him, the more carefully he protected what remained. When Titanic reached theaters in 1997, Leonardo DiCaprio's life split into a before and an after. Only months earlier, he had been known as a gifted young actor, respected by critics for his depth and early award nominations. But Titanic pushed him into a territory no one can fully prepare for. Practically overnight, Leonardo became a global sensation. Crowds screamed his name. Magazines plastered his face across every cover. Young fans lined up outside theaters just to see the film one more time. The world wasn't simply watching him, they were consuming him. For Leonardo, this sudden rise didn't feel glamorous. It felt overwhelming. Fame arrived like a wave that crashed too hard, too fast. Everywhere he went, the world expected him to be charming, available, endlessly confident. Yet inside, he carried the same fragile need for emotional safety that had followed him since childhood. Fame gave him attention, but it also forced him to build barriers. To the public, he looked untouchable. Privately, he held tightly to the parts of himself he feared the world might damage. As his career soared, so did public obsession with his personal life. Every relationship became a spectacle. His partnerships with women such as Gisele Bündchen, Bar Refaeli, Blake Lively, Camila Morona and others, publicly acknowledged over the years, were followed with relentless fascination. These relationships were real, lived under the glare of cameras, and discussed endlessly by tabloids and fans. Each time he stepped out with someone new, the narrative intensified. The world speculated, compared and analyzed, while Leonardo quietly retreated further into privacy. Behind the scenes, a different emotional rhythm took shape. Fame taught him caution. The more people watched, the more he learned to hold pieces of himself back. What looked like glamour from the outside was, on the inside, a constant balancing act between connection and protection. Leonardo became a master of staying present but guarded, engaged but never fully exposed. And then, in the middle of the pressure and noise, a rare kind of bond formed. It began on the Titanic set, long before the world knew the film would become a cultural phenomenon. That was where he met Kate Winslet. Their connection didn't erupt in drama or headlines. It grew quietly, naturally, built on shared humor, mutual respect, and the genuine comfort of working beside someone who understood the demands of fame without feeding into them. Their friendship has been documented over the years through interviews, public appearances, and heartfelt moments that audiences witnessed. Kate spoke of him as one of the closest friends she had ever made in the industry. Leonardo often expressed deep admiration for her talent and credited her with keeping him steady during the chaos of their early fame. What made their bond different was its purity. It existed outside the noise, outside the expectations and pressures that shaped every other relationship in his life. Kate didn't need anything from him. She didn't chase the spotlight or treat him like a trophy. With her, Leonardo found something he rarely allowed himself to feel: ease, emotional safety, a friendship that didn't demand performance or perfection. As fame wrapped itself tighter around him, the world saw Leonardo DiCaprio, the icon, the heartthrob, the international star. But behind that image lived another truth. Leonardo was a man navigating fame by building protective walls, yet holding on to one connection that made him feel grounded, understood, and quietly human. Across decades of fame, award shows, and shifting Hollywood landscapes, one truth about Leonardo DiCaprio has remained visible to anyone willing to look closely. Through every rise, every fall, every relationship, the world documented with fascination. Kate Winslet stayed exactly where she had been since 1996, by his side, not as a secret romance, not as a shadowed possibility, but as a rare kind of emotional anchor that fame could never erode. Their friendship has been captured in countless moments over the years. Interviews where they spoke with disarming honesty about the comfort they found in each other. Red carpet events where they moved like two people who understood the cost of fame better than anyone else in the room. And emotional milestones that showed the depth of their connection, such as the night Kate stood with him during his long-awaited Oscar victory, and the day Leonardo supported her when she received her star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. In a world where everything is polished and rehearsed, their bond always felt unforced, steady, and profoundly human. What made their friendship even more striking was the contrast between Leonardo's public relationships and his private emotional life. Over the years, he dated well-known, publicly confirmed partners. The world analyzed each one with relentless curiosity, treating every new relationship as a chapter in a story they believed they understood. Yet through every era of his dating life, through every glamorous headline, one person never became a footnote or faded into the background. Kate remained constant. Their connection defied the usual rhythms of Hollywood friendships. It did not weaken with time. It did not fade after projects ended. They could go months without being photographed together, yet when they resurfaced, the closeness remained untouched, as if nurtured quietly in the spaces between their lives. Leonardo often spoke with deep admiration for Kate's strength, grounding presence, and talent. Kate, in turn, expressed gratitude for his unwavering support, his loyalty, and the comfort of a friendship that survived the glare of global scrutiny. While Leonardo's personal life shifted publicly, Kate's life moved forward with its own chapters. She married, built a family, welcomed children, and embraced the deeply rooted stability she had long desired. Yet her bond with Leonardo endured every change. It did not threaten her relationships, nor did it require explanation. It existed outside the usual boundaries, outside Hollywood narratives, living in a place neither romantic nor fragile. It was a connection built not on fantasy, but on decades of shared experience, mutual trust, and emotional truth. This is where the idea of Leonardo's double life becomes clear. Not a secret life, not a hidden scandal, but a quieter reality the public never fully grasped. The world saw Leonardo's dating history, his glamorous companions, and the attention that followed him everywhere. Yet beneath that visible life, there was another one running parallel. A deep emotional home he never built in romance but found in lifelong friendship. Kate became the one person who reflected the parts of Leonardo the world rarely saw. The young man shaped by instability, the artist burdened by fame, the human being searching for safety in a world that constantly demanded pieces of him. Their friendship stretched through time not because it was dramatic, but because it was steady. It survived everything: careers, families, heartbreaks, victories, distances. Because it was built on something simple and enduring: two people who saw each other clearly long before the world ever claimed them. As Leonardo DiCaprio grew older, fame tightened its hold around him. The boy who once slipped through auditions with easy openness became a man who protected his inner world with fierce determination. Privacy was no longer a preference. It was a form of survival. For Leonardo, guarding his emotional life became an instinct shaped by decades of being watched, discussed, and defined by narratives he never wrote. He learned to reveal only what he chose, and to keep the most fragile parts of himself shielded from a world eager to interpret them. While the public built its own image of him, Leonardo redirected much of his energy towards something larger than personal spotlight: environmental activism. He funded conservation projects, supported global initiatives, and used his platform to highlight climate change long before it was widely discussed. These efforts revealed a side of him that felt deeply personal, a man searching for purpose beyond fame, a man trying to repair a world that often felt broken to him. His advocacy became a grounding force, something that allowed him to step outside the noise and pour his intensity into causes that mattered more than red carpet flashes. Still, fame carried its burden. The constant attention shaped his emotional boundaries, making him cautious about who he let in. In interviews later in his life, Leonardo reflected on love, family, and the pressure that came with living under such intense scrutiny. He spoke about the difficulty of finding balance, the challenge of opening up when every word could be dissected, and the weight of expectations that followed him from one decade to the next. There was honesty in those moments, an acknowledgement that love and stability, the things he longed for as a child, were not simple to maintain when the entire world insisted on being part of the conversation. His relationships, though real and meaningful, never evolved into permanent commitments. They unfolded under bright lights, surrounded by cameras and speculation, and often ended quietly, without explanation. Despite the many people he dated and cared for, Leonardo never settled into the traditional idea of partnership. The world questioned it endlessly, searching for reasons, crafting stories, imagining answers. But the truth was far more human. Emotional safety is hard to find when fame follows every step you take. And yet, through all the shifting chapters of his life, one connection remained untouched by fame's distortion. Kate Winslet stayed steady, not as a romantic mystery, but as a lifelong emotional refuge. She represented something he rarely found: consistency, trust without condition, understanding without intrusion. Their friendship survived decades of change, proving that not all relationships are defined by romance. Some are built on something quieter, deeper, and far more enduring. Kate became the one person who reflected the parts of Leonardo the public rarely saw, the part shaped by childhood instability, the part that struggled with vulnerability, the part that longed for simplicity in a world that demanded spectacle. She never needed to claim him or fit him into a narrative. She met him exactly where he was, through triumphs and losses, through fame's brightest lights and darkest shadows. In many ways, this bond explains the emotional thread that ran through Leonardo's life. He moved through relationships, experiences, and decades of fame without settling. Yet he was never truly without a grounding presence. Kate offered him a type of emotional steadiness that did not need labels or definition. She was not a secret. She was not a hidden story. She was a constant, a friend who remained untouched by the frenzy surrounding him. And as Leonardo continued navigating fame, advocacy, and the complexity of his private world, that single, unshakable connection stood quietly in the background, his truest source of emotional safety in a life that rarely offered it. Leonardo DiCaprio's story is more than the flashbulbs, the headlines, and the endless speculation. It is the story of a man navigating fame, love, and the weight of expectation. A life lived under constant observation yet shaped by private truths the world never fully saw. Decades of public dating created a narrative the media chased relentlessly, a carousel of glamour and intrigue. And yet, beneath the glittering surface, Leonardo's heart remained quietly loyal to one enduring connection. His friendship with Kate Winslet was never about public spectacle or superficial attention. It was a lifeline, a grounding presence through every chapter of his life. While the world sought romance, the truth was far deeper, quieter, and more profoundly human. A man who had loved, lost, and experienced the intensity of life in public, yet carried in his private world a steadfast bond that outlasted fame, distance, and time. In the end, Leonardo DiCaprio's double life was never a mystery of scandal or intrigue. It was the story of emotional survival, of loyalty and trust, of the kind of human connection that fame can never manufacture. For more emotional stories, check out this video.